Well, there was a bright green glow over Sydney last night as a meteor lit up the sky. The astronomical show capped off a busy week for stargazers in the east of the country, with Aurora Australis also on full display.
So you can see that this thing is really quickly moving through the sky. It's breaking up and it's giving us this colorful flash. And the color is really what I think is one of the key giveaways, because the materials of spacecraft are quite different than the materials of a common asteroid. So a lot of those asteroids that are bigger and make it through the atmosphere, they have a lot of metals in them. And so that greenish blue color we're seeing is a trait of that, but also what's being heated up in the atmosphere.
Okay, so how big would this meteor have been?
Yeah. To see something like this, normally when we see meteors and meteor showers, we're thinking of things that are like the size of a grain of rice. However, this might have been slightly larger, maybe golf ball size, to create that bright of a display.
Okay, now this comes after a flurry of activity in astro activity. We had Aurora Australis really putting on a show for those in the east. Some of the pictures I've seen are nothing short of spectacular. How is this different to meteors? Can you explain to our viewers what Aurora Australis is again?
Absolutely. So this is actually caused when our sun has these little burps, which we call coronal mass ejections. And that's where it's sending out these waves of energetic particles along what we call the solar wind. And that is a giant global wide phenomenon, because that hits our magnetic field, and our magnetic field protects us by sending those particles racing along those field lines. However, when they reach the poles, that's where those field lines are dipping in and they're the weakest. And so they impact our atmosphere, just like those meteors lighting up the atmosphere, but on a much grander scale, where you have these energetic particles causing these light shows. So similar kind of phenomenon, but the scales are much different and the cause is different. And these are a little bit more worrisome because they can affect satellites and they can affect power grids. So these types of solar storms, especially when we can see them as high as, latitudes in Melbourne and these higher states. Tasmania is fine. But when we see this, it means it was really an energetic storm that caused it. And that really makes us, kind of caution about, the satellites are up there, because
are you aware of it?
Disturbed.
Yeah, are you aware of it having any disruption to satellites or other infrastructure?
So we haven't seen any major disruptions yet, but the beauty of it now is because we can detect, we've got all these magnificent instruments watching the sun. So when we see first in UV and X-ray, so those are the wavelengths of light where we see these phenomenon happening on the sun, we know we have about 15 to 20 hours before it reaches Earth. So then we have very sophisticated simulations which tell us what to expect, and then the satellite operators can do as best they can, and the power grid operators on Earth, to mitigate the effects of this. So it's with these advanced warnings, this area we call space weather, that we're able to really kind of try to protect ourselves from these very energetic storms.
And we're seeing the pictures now. A lot of this with Aurora Australis is the pinks and the oranges. As you mentioned before, the meteor was due to the minerals in the rock, the green, giving off that colours. Why are we seeing the pinks and oranges more so with Aurora Australis, or is that just because that's how it was last night?
Look, so no, this is a great question. So our atmosphere is predominantly made up of certain molecules, nitrogen, oxygen, which we need. And so it's those molecules that are getting excited by the energetic particles. And when they get excited, they go up in energy level, but then when they drop back down, they give off a photon, which is emitted in that wavelength of light. So that's literally what we're seeing, is our atmosphere getting excited from that energy and giving off this light show. And on the meteor, it's just a much smaller scale, because that meteor is moving quickly through different layers of the atmosphere. And actually that light, it helps us understand how far down into the atmosphere did that meteor make it. So it's really about understanding the composition of our atmosphere and how this energy interacts with it.
Well, I'm sorry that the coronal mass ejections are causing astronomers like yourself a little bit of anxiety. It's certainly beautiful to watch nature in its full force. Rebecca Allen, thank you.
Of course.